my stick. Move fast and clear those murder holes.
Want to see plenty of beef between men. 5 men is a juicy opportunity. 1 man's a waste of ammo.
Get the sand out of your weapons. Keep those actions clear. And I'll see you on the beach.
The Ardennes, a peaceful region in Western Europe, yet with a history that changed Europe completely.
My name is Herbert J. Seward, Jr.
Hey, kid, what's your name again?
Seward. Seward, Jr.
I served with the 101st Airborne Division. I had the nickname Junior in the outfit for other reasons, because everyone had nicknames. I reached the rank of PFC after 3.5 years. That was just because I moved around a lot.
World War II was nearly at its end. The Germans' resistance was neutralized, or at least that's what the Allied forces thought. On 16 December 1944, the Germans carried out their last desperate attack. They forced their way into the Belgian Ardennes and established a front of 50 miles. Their goal? The harbor of Antwerp. The city of Bastogne was a crucial obstacle in their path. It was the gathering point of 7 main roads that connected the whole area, and was therefore desired by both the Americans and the Germans. The Americans, however, reached it just before the Germans did.
We didn't have a lot of shelling that first night or two, because I don't think the Krauts had their guns in position, because there was a real firefight going on with some of the American tank outfits that were in Foy on that day when we arrived. So while we were digging our hole, this firefight was going on, and we were hearing the spent rifle fire going over our heads, and that was going on for a whole afternoon while we dug our holes. But that first night or two, they didn't shell us. Then after that, when they cleaned out Foy and our people had to fall back, they brought their guns up, and then they really began to shell the Beaujolais.
The Germans struck with overwhelming power. The Americans were highly outnumbered and had to pull back at Beaujolais. The Germans soon surrounded Easy Company. Supplies and communication couldn't be delivered. General McAuliffe was in command, and the weather deteriorated even more. 18,000 Americans were defending Bastogne when the siege began.
We were pretty much on our own for the first 10 days, believe me. We were low on food and low on ammunition. Medical supplies were non-existent. It was really a bad situation. So, and of course the weather added to that just tremendously. So, because a lot of times wounded guys, if they didn't get picked up right away, would freeze to death.
The soldiers were fighting in 2 feet of snow. It was the coldest winter in Belgium for over 30 years, with temperatures below -4 degrees Fahrenheit. Air support was not a possibility. The soldiers were on their own.
I had been on maneuvers in the Blue Ridge Mountains the year before, and it wasn't as cold as it is up here, but it was very cold because we were at elevation and had snow and things, and we found out that our Army sleeping bags weren't any good for anything below about 30 degrees. But before we left Bastogne, I mentioned this to a couple guys, and because they looked at me, and I was sewing extra blankets around my sleeping bag, and so I think it was Max said, "What are you doing there?" And I said, "I'm putting extra blankets on this bag because if we're going out up to the north here somewhere. No one really knew where we were going, but I knew enough about Europe that it was cold this time of year, and you didn't want to sleep out in the ground if you didn't have to. So anyhow, I put extra blankets, a number of the guys did, and that made a big difference. Otherwise, the bag was very one thin layer of like OD material.
On the morning of the 22nd of December, 4 Germans appeared at the outpost with a proposition for the Americans to surrender. At first, they thought the Germans were giving up. But when they found out they wanted them to surrender, General McAuliffe's answer was short. His famous message to the Germans, nuts. A day later, the weather cleared and air forces could finally support their troops.
One morning, we had a flight of 3 P-47s come over. And we thought, oh boy, this is great. Well, they strafed us. And then dropped a bomb and damn near killed every officer in our company. They were having a meeting. He dropped a 500-pound bomb, and we had our orange recognition panels out. You know, the guys must have been colorblind or something, because they were flying low. They were, you know, they were probably 500 feet, 400 feet, something like that. So the next day they came by again. And guess what? We didn't pay any attention to their markings. Everybody shot at them. The next day, in the later morning after the second strafing, I went to the stream. When I got there, there was a helmet laying alongside the spring with a great big hole in on the side of it. And when I looked down into the spring, there was the GI's brains in the spring. And I had to get the water. And so I think I took my rifle butt or something like that and cleaned out the little hollowed out part where the water collected out the side of the hill. Cleaned it out as best I could, let it run for 5-10 minutes, and then proceeded to fill the jerry can. So I cleaned it out and I filled the jerry can and I took it back. I never told anyone about it, not a soul. I didn't drink a lot of water that day.